Henry went on to change the working habits of a continent and created a global presence and standards that revolutionized the window cleaning industry. Born in 1929 in New York City, he was a typical New York go-getter who did not take no for an answer. Right out of high school, he headed west and started a window cleaning business in Lancaster, California. In 1962, he went to Europe for a vegetarian convention in Manchester, England. I happened to be there at the same time, visiting friends. We met up again the next week in Hamburg, where I lived, and then Henry continued on this journey. But we stayed in touch and eventually fell in love and got married. On this trip through Europe, Henry got up early in the mornings and became intrigued, watching the window cleaners in their rounds in the different countries using antiquated tools and methods. And he decided that there was a business opportunity for him. He decided to take a chance, sold his American business, and returned to Germany. We set up shop in 1964 in the attic of my grandmother's house. Although Henry only spoke broken German, he was determined to show the window cleaners that it was time for change. He took a direct approach and met with the window cleaners in the streets in the center of Hamburg. He had brought some of his own tools with him and showed the professionals how he did the work in the US with poles, rather than with leathers and a much lighter squeegee and brushes. The Germans were using a so-called Chicago squeegee that had first been developed in Chicago in the 1920s, made from very heavy brass with 12 screws that had to be unscrewed in order to change the rubber blade. They also used sponges and chamois and leathers. The window cleaners were very hesitant to listen to this crazy American with his Tiroler hat speaking in broken German. But Henry knew his business and cleaned some windows for them with poles, and they were impressed with his work. Eventually, Henry met the biggest maintenance supply dealer in Hamburg. The owner, Walter, spoke excellent English, and the two soon became friends. Walter decided to put in a stock of Henry's tools, which we initially imported from America. Little by little, they convinced the window cleaners that Henry's methods could save them time and effort, and that the change from climbing ladders to using telescopic poles was a much safer way of working. Walter also introduced him to the Meisters of the German Window Cleaning Guild, and eventually they gained their support for the new tools, which was an important step in persuading the window cleaners to try these tools. In the afternoons after work, Henry would tinker in my grandmother's basement. He was a born inventor and used his knowledge of the trade and the desire to improve the efficiency of the professionals to develop new tools for them. Initially, Henry made poles for broomsticks, but he was a savvy enough businessman to know that you cannot make money selling wooden sticks, and he made his first telescopic poles using the clamps from beach umbrellas, and demonstrated to the window cleaners that he could clean windows 10 and 20 feet high without ladders using these poles. His demonstrations were convincing, as he was hands-on with his peers, and over time the professionals started to adopt his window cleaning technology. It was also the excellent quality combined with increased efficiency that turned the German window cleaners to Henry's products. Soon our business took off, and we outgrew my grandmother's basement. In 1966, we moved to Solingen, in the industrial heartland of Germany, because of its central location in Europe and its good access to manufacturing and the raw materials needed in the production of the Unger tools. We rented our first small workshop, and Henry continued to develop new tools for the industry. He knew the trade and knew what was needed, and used his creative mind to develop them, like the S and later the Pro Squeegee, the strip washer, a variety of scrapers, the fixie clamp, the swivel lock, the bucket on the belt, and others. Being a good businessman, he protected each of his inventions with patents and eventually held 13 patents. Henry was a tireless demonstrator and an excellent salesman. He traveled all over Germany and worked with the various distributors and built strong and long-lasting relationships with them. Soon he was traveling all over Europe with the Unger products. Meanwhile, I had set up my office in our bedroom and did all the administrative work for the company so that Henry was free to do the sales work. Trade shows, of which there are many in Germany and Europe, followed. Henry would demonstrate his tools tirelessly on a big window pane at our booth, and crowds of visitors would gather around our booths at all times. We worked very hard during those years. We were totally focused on our business and reinvested every penny we made in the business. In 1973, we built our first Unger factory in Solingen and put a squeegee in the capstone. It was a beautiful factory, all in Unger green with big window panes for the offices, and it was our pride and joy. The factory was our second home, and our sons Jan and Mark grew up watching the Unger tools being produced and became proud themselves of being part of the story. As the business grew, Henry expanded globally by taking trips to the Far East. He would fly into a foreign capital, open the yellow pages, and call on the maintenance supply companies. His drive and tenacity, along with a bag full of samples, got him new customers wherever he went. Henry had always wanted to return to the US with his family, and in 1978 we moved to Connecticut. Everybody thought we were crazy to leave our very viable German business in the hands of a manager. But it turned out to be a good decision. We founded the sister company Unger Enterprises and initially started in Mount Vernon outside of New York City. And in 1989, we bought our Unger factory in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And we continued to use the same type of innovations and quality to build the business in the US. With the help of our son Dane, who joined us in 1985, he conquered the American market, and the business continued to grow around the world. And in 1995, we sold the global company to our three sons. In spite of the company's success as a manufacturing company, Henry never lost his love and enthusiasm for the men using his tools to make a living. He chose Mr. Window Cleaner for his business card and continued to be a spokesman for the professionalism and betterment of the window cleaning industry. He became involved in the IWCA and developed a window cleaning contest as part of the convention, bringing together window cleaners around the world, competing in a fun way with each other. Sadly, in 1996, Henry was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease and passed away on a cruise ship off the coast of Egypt in November of that year. His three sons, Dane, Jan, and Mark, took over and have grown the global companies to new dimensions. I feel so fortunate to be here tonight to receive this award in Henry's name. He would have been overjoyed to be honored in this way. The IWCA and raising the professionalism of the window cleaning industry were very close to his heart.